The next chapter, chapter 19, continues from where we left off. Remember that Edna had taken off her wedding ring, stomped on it. She had a little fit prior. And at this point now, she's looking back and she realizes that that was foolish and childish to stomp on her wedding ring and smash a crystal vase. And it's not so much that she's thinking that her emotions weren't valid. It's that she doesn't feel like she needs to be feeling like held back or persecuted. Because the very next sentence says, she began to do as she liked and to feel as she liked. So she moves quickly beyond this little fit that she had, where she had this emotional outburst, and she is just seizing her independence. She entirely abandons her Tuesdays at home. So her rebellion of, leaving on the day that people are supposed to come visit her, she's just expanding that to be every week. She is no longer going to be there to receive her friends. And she doesn't go visit anybody else. So when she sees that people have come and called on her and left their card, she doesn't make any effort to go and visit them on their days when they're at home. And this reference here, she's not conducting her household like a good housewife is what this is referring to. She's not doing any of the things she's supposed to do. So Mr. Pontellier is going to be noticing this, obviously. So he has been a rather courteous husband so long as he was certain that his wife was being somewhat submissive to him. And of course, it's not now. So at first, you might want to notice his reactions. Initially, he's bewildered by her behavior. Then he is shocked, and then he's angry. When Mr. Pontellier became rude, Edna grew insolent. So when he challenged her, she became even more rebellious. She had resolved never to take another step backward. So she is not going to be conforming to his expectations at all. And this is definitely how Mr. Pontellier feels. He says it seems like a folly, which is like foolish and like silly for a woman at the head of a household and the mother of children to spend in an atelier days which would be better employed contriving for the comfort of her family. So we're going to get a description of what an atelier is, and I'll just tell you, it's like her little art studio. It's like her little space where she's creative. Because Edna says, I feel like painting. Perhaps I shan't always feel like it. And then he's like, well, fine, paint, but don't let the family go to the devil. And then he says, there's Madame Ratignolle. She keeps up her music. She doesn't let everything go to chaos. And she's more of a musician than you are a painter. Ouch. That's a blow to her. And Edna is not phased. She isn't a musician and I'm not a painter. It isn't on account of painting that I let things go. And he's like, well, what is it then? And she says, I don't know. Leave me alone. You annoy me. You bother me. So this is the sort of conversation they're having. She's not sure what's going on. She just wants to be her own person. She wants autonomy. She wants to be only accountable to herself. And so she's just doing whatever she feels. And at this point, it happens to be painting. So at some point, Mr. Pontellier wonders if maybe his wife is unbalanced mentally. He could see plainly that she was not herself. That is, he could not see that she was becoming herself and daily casting aside the fictitious self, which we assume like a garment with which to appear before the world. So I think I starred this for a couple reasons. First of all, this idea that a wife is crazy, that she's losing her mind or her mental health is significantly compromised, any way you want to phrase it. This was common during this time period and even into the modern age, where a man just assumed something was wrong. His wife was sick if she didn't want to do the traditional work of being a housewife and a wife and a mother. This is also important. She is becoming herself. She is no longer that fake self. And I just want to point out the use of the second person here. This is the author talking to us. We assume like a garment with which to appear before the world. So we're being included as readers in this this fictitious self. I mean, everyone does this, right? We have a persona that we show everybody else. This is universal. This is a universal truth, which is why we have the second person reference here. But it's especially true for Edna at this moment. She is no longer going to be a fiction. She is going to be real. Her husband does let her alone as she requested and went away to his office. He's like, whatever. And Edna goes up to her atelier. So here's how it's described: a bright room in the top of the house. It's like a little studio. She was working with great energy and interest without accomplishing anything. I thought that was funny and ironic. So she's like all into this, but she's not really doing anything. However, she's very satisfied. Even if it's a little bit of satisfaction, it's worth it for her. For a time, she had let the whole household enrolled in the service of art. So she literally includes everybody. The boys have to pose for her. The nurse, the quadroon, has to sit for hours before Edna's palette, patient as a savage. I thought that was funny. You can tell these people do not want to be sitting for her. In the meantime, like the housemaid has to look over the children. So she's really, not only is she not being an attentive mother, but she's compromising the work of the people in the home. So I just made a note here that she's creating chaos, LOL, in the house, all in the service of her art. So while she's painting, she is singing the song that Robert sang on the ferry. She could hear again the ripple of the water, the flapping of the sail. It takes her back to that time with Robert on the island. She could see the glint of moon upon the bay. She could feel the soft, gusty beating of the hot south wind. A subtle current of desire passed through her body, weakening her hold upon the brushes and making her eyes burn. So she's thinking of Robert and how much she still loves him, how much she misses him. And so this also makes me think that this very vigorous pursuit of painting is a distraction from her feelings for him. And then it says that there are days when she's very, very happy. And I'm sure part of that, I mean, she doesn't know why, but as a reader, I would think it's because she's being her authentic self. She enjoys just being out and about, wandering wherever she wants, enjoying nature. And she found it a good dream to be alone and unmolested. Now, that does not mean sexual molestation. It just means like bothered by people. But then there's also days when she's unhappy and she doesn't know why. And again, like, I think we as maybe more enlightened people in 2025, we can imagine why she might be unhappy. She might be unhappy because she's still missing her flirt. She's also maybe unhappy because maybe these things she's doing aren't enough for her. And maybe she hasn't fully reached this sort of self-actualization that she's after. And when she feels that way, she cannot work, which is, just keep in mind, work is painting. It's not anything more than that. It was during such a foul, sort of depressed mood in chapter 20 where she goes looking for Mademoiselle Reisz. She had not forgotten the rather disagreeable impression left upon her by their last interview, but she nevertheless felt a desire to see her and to listen to her play the piano. So just remember, she's looking for some sort of balm, some comfort for her bad feelings, and she remembers how Mademoiselle Reisz played the piano on Grand Isle and how that affected her. So she remembers that she had her address, and she goes there. She goes to find it. I'm sorry, I misread this. She does not have her address. She had it, but she mislaid it. But she does look it up in the directory, which is not even a thing much anymore. And she goes to find her at Bienville Street. And when she gets there, she discovers that Mademoiselle Reisz has left. She has moved away from that location, is no longer there. And she asks the neighbors, and they don't know where she is. But she realizes that Mademoiselle Reisz would have left her address with the owner of the neighboring grocery store. So that's interesting. I'm sure people they had their groceries delivered. I'm sure that was very common. We do today now for other reasons. That would be because of Amazon. But in those days, people would have the owner of the grocery store deliver groceries. So she goes to the grocery store, and sure enough, he does have her new address. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm reading this again wrong. He does not have her address initially. He says that she had left the neighborhood, and he's thankful he does not know where she has gone. So Mademoiselle Reisz is not liked by very many people. The people in her building don't really know her. The guy at the grocery store doesn't know. But she does realize then that Madame Lebrun would know where she is. And of course, this is the truth. So she goes now to Madame Lebrun's house. So she's going all over New Orleans trying to find where Mademoiselle Reisz lives. And so she gets there. She does find out that she does know. So when she gets there, Victor opens the gate for her. There's just sort of a funny little thing here. The woman who works for the Lebruns is annoyed because she's supposed to open the door. Victor's very happy to see Mrs. Pontellier. There's just a detail here I think that's important. He's 19 years old. He looks a lot like his mother, but even more sort of pompous and impetuous. So just remember, he's sort of the favorite child. We also find out, this is just a little bit of background, he ends up staying on the island for the year and kind of keeping an eye on the resort and the main house. So we kind of get some background about that. He also talks about the fact that he had a flirtation in town, that there was some girl that was smiling at him through the shutters. She was so beautiful. So he kind of, tells Mrs. Pontellier about his love life. Finally, Mrs. Pontellier meets Madame Lebrun, and they sort of, again, talk about just how things are going in the fall. Victor is sitting back and just listening to their conversation. Eventually, we do find out that there have been 2 letters from Robert. I'm sure this is not the reason that Edna went to Madame Lebrun's. She went there genuinely because she was searching for Mademoiselle Reisz. But of course, I'm sure maybe subconsciously this was a great idea for her too, because maybe there would be news of Robert. And there is. The news from Robert is that he has gone to Veracruz and the other city and also Mexico City. He had met Montel, who is the man who kind of is a stand-in father, was doing everything toward his advancement, so he's maybe helping him with his career. The financial situation was no improvement over the one he had left in New Orleans, but of course the prospects were vastly better. So he's maybe working in a new job, but not making any more money. He wrote about the city of Mexico, the buildings, the people, and their habits. He sends a check to his mother and hoped that she would affectionately remember him to all his friends. This was about the substance of the 2 letters. Edna felt that if there had been a message for her, she would have received it. I mean, of course, he could just write to her. The despondent frame of mind in which she had left home began to overtake her, and she remembered that she wished to find Mademoiselle Reisz. So this makes her even more depressed to be reading these letters from Robert, and there's no mention of her. So yes, we get confirmation right here that Madame Lebrun does know where Mademoiselle Reisz lives. She gives her the address, and off she goes. That's the end of that. And when she leaves, Victor says to his mother that Mrs. Pontellier looked ravishing, that the city atmosphere has improved her. Some way she doesn't seem like the same woman. And of course, she is not. So, this is interesting, chapter 21. Some people contended that the reason Mademoiselle Reisz always chose apartments up under the roof was to discourage the approach of beggars, peddlers, and callers. So she shares a little bit of Edna's sensibility. She doesn't want to be bothered by other people that don't interest her. So her apartment is on the top floor. There are also plenty of windows in her little front room. They were not They were for the most part dingy, because I'm sure it's hard to wash those top windows. But as they were nearly always open, it did not make so much difference. They often admitted into the little room a lot of smoke and soot, a reference to the time period. But at the same time, all the light and air that there was came through them. From her windows could be seen the crescent of the river, the massive ships, and the big chimneys. So there's a whole view out her window. When Edna knocked at Mademoiselle Reisz's front door and entered, she discovered that person standing beside the window, engaged in mending or patching an old prunella gaiter. The little musician laughed all over when she saw Edna. So this could be a quiz question. How does she respond? She's happy to see her. Her laugh consisted of a contortion of the face and all the muscles of the body. She seemed strikingly homely, standing there in the afternoon light. She still wore the shabby lace and the artificial bunch of violets on the side of her head. So you remembered me at last. I had said, will she ever come? Did you want me to come? Edna smiled. I had not thought much about it, answered Mademoiselle. The two had seated themselves on a little bumpy sofa. I am glad that you came. So she won't acknowledge, like, I wanted you to come, but she's happy that she's there. They are of the same mind, these women. I think they recognize that in some way. She has water boiling. She's going to make her some tea. And she goes on to say, yes, I thought she will never come. She promised, as those women in society always do without meaning it. She will not come. For I really don't believe you like me, Mrs. Pontellier. This is ironic. And then Edna says, I don't know whether I like you or not, gazing down at the little woman with a quizzical look. The candor of Mrs. Pontellier's admission greatly pleased Mademoiselle Reisz. So these women don't hold anything back. They say exactly what is on their mind. She expressed her gratification by repairing forthwith with the promised cup of coffee. So there's coffee, there's biscuits. So she's giving her something to eat and drink. And she goes on to say, I have a letter from your friend, as she poured the cream into Edna's cup. My friend? Yes, your friend Robert. He wrote to me, and Edna's, I'm sure, even more upset. Wrote to you? Like, oh my God, he's writing to everyone but her. Yes, to me, why not? Don't stir all the warmth out of your coffee. Drink it. She tells her how to drink her coffee. Though the letter might as well have been sent to you, it was nothing but Mrs. Pontellier from beginning to end. Well, this is interesting because there was no mention of Edna in the letters to his mother, but to Mademoiselle Reisz, he talks all about her. Let me see it. And then Mademoiselle Reisz teases her. No, a letter concerns no one but the person who writes it and the one to whom it is written. But you just said it was about me from beginning to end. It was written about you, not to you. Oh my gosh. This is so funny. Have you seen Mrs. Pontellier? How is she looking? So she does sort of recount it. As Mrs. Pontellier says this, or Mrs. Pontellier said that. Play for her that impromptu of Chopin's, my favorite. I heard it here a day or two ago. So he's just kind of like asking about her. Let me see the letter. Oh, no. Have you answered it? No. Let me see the letter. No. And again, no. Then play the impromptu for me. This is why she came. She wants to hear some music. It is growing late. What time do you have to be home? Time doesn't concern me. Edna is like, please play for me. Your question seems a little rude. Play the impromptu. But you have told me nothing of yourself. What are you doing? Painting, laughed Edna. I am becoming an artist. Think of it. An artist. You have pretensions, madame. Now, this is an interesting conversation. I think this is actually, I wrote here, this is a keeper of a quote. Why pretensions? Don't you think I could become an artist? I do not know you well enough to say. I do not know your talent or your temperament. To be an artist includes much. One must possess many gifts, absolute gifts, which have not been acquired by one's own effort, like genuine gifts. And moreover, to succeed, an artist must possess the courageous soul. This is a wonderful quote. This is a universal truth. You have to have talent, like genuine talent first, and then you work on it. And you must be bold and courageous if you're going to be a successful artist. What do you mean by the courageous soul? Courage, the brave soul, the soul that dares and defies. Well, I would say Edna is working towards that for sure. Show me the letter and play for me the impromptu. You see that I have persistence. Does that quality count for anything in art? It counts with the foolish old woman who you have captivated. So the letter is laying right there, right next to her cup of coffee. Mademoiselle opened the drawer and drew forth the letter, the topmost one, and she placed it into Edna's hands and without further comment went to the piano. Mademoiselle played a soft interlude. It was an improvisation. She sat low at the instrument and the lines of her body settled into ungraceful curves and angles that gave it an appearance of deformity. Gradually and imperceptibly, the interlude melted into the soft opening minor chords of the Chopin impromptu. Edna did not know when the impromptu began or ended. She sat in the sofa corner reading Robert's letter by the fading light. Mademoiselle had glided from the Chopin into the quivering love notes of Isolde's song and back again into the impromptu with its soulful and poignant longing. The shadows deepened in the little room. The music grew strange and fantastic, turbulent, soft, plaintive. The shadows grew deeper. The music filled the room. It floated out upon the night, over the housetops, the crescent of the river, losing itself in the silence of the upper air. Edna was sobbing, just as she had wept one midnight at Grand Isle when strange new voices awoke in her. She arose in some agitation to take her departure. May I come again? She asks. Come whenever you feel like it. Be careful. The stairs and landings are dark. Don't stumble. Mademoiselle re-entered and lit a candle. Robert's letter was on the floor. She stopped and picked it up. It was crumpled and damp with tears. Mademoiselle smoothed the letter, restored it to the envelope, and replaced it in the table drawer. I would imagine as a class you'll talk about, why does Edna sob? It's just one of those moments, I'm sure you've all felt it, where something overtakes you. Maybe it is an incredible realization. Maybe it is a moment of deep personal truth, or just a time when you need to let all your feelings out. There's a lot of things going on here, which is why I gave it a big old bracket. We shall see now what happens with Edna going forward.